Hey guys, it's Driz here, and I'm making a mod spotlight today on a mod called Alchemistry. It's made by a mod developer by the name of Al132, and he's actually a really good mod developer, and he's done a lot of really great mods, and a lot of the things that he does are in very great detail, and he's a very detail-oriented modder. So this mod is very large, and it has every element from the periodic table, as well as a lot of compound materials and a lot of um, combined elements. It's very, very well done. And I'm going to go through today and explain to you what this mod does in pretty quickly. It's not going to be like a super detailed walkthrough. I'm not going to actually show you how the machines work. I'm not going to turn them on or anything. I'm just going to explain them one by one and explain just how to get started with the mod, really, and how to understand the basics of what's going on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you that in order to make alchemistry work, you do need other mods that go with it. There are two mods that you have to have, and that's alib, which is a library mod, and forgelin. In addition to that, the wonderful book that I have in my hand here is actually made from a mod called Patchouli. So if you want to have the book in your pack or in your set of mods that you're playing with, I would recommend getting Patchouli because it will give you access to the book, and the book is very well written and it has pretty much all the information you'll need, except for things about milk, which I'm going to get into a bit later. So we're going to start with the first machine. I'm going to go through all the machines. There's only these machines. There's not that many, and they're not complicated. So when I go through to explain them, you should, by the end of this, have a basic understanding. I'm also going to explain the items, and I'm not going to go into detail about all the different compounds and materials and elements, because at the end of the day, all the elements you can think of are there, and a bunch of different compound materials like potassium chloride and such, and a whole bunch of ingots to match those things. And so all of these things are created through these machines, and essentially, yeah, this mod is a chemistry mod. So everything you can imagine about doing in chemistry, it's pretty accurate. So a lot of these things will turn into these things in real life, just through a slightly more complex process. As I say slightly, but probably much more complex. So this is a chemical combiner. All it really is just a normal crafting station that crafts your chemicals into combined chemicals. It does require power. Most of these machines, except for the evaporator, require power, and it's a custom power. And I'm not going to go into much detail about that though. This second machine here is a chemical dissolver. So what it does is it takes just random things that you put in here, and what it does is it dissolves them. It turns them into different elements. So it will take this mineral salt here and turn it into its compound elements. So here we have an electrolyzer. It uses electrolyte or I think it's called electrolyte. Let me pull it up here. Uh, yeah, electrolyte. And what it does is it takes items and fluids and it kind of mashes them together to create an output. So the item that comes out is essentially processed from a catalyst item mixed with a fluid, and we'll get a resulting output. So here we have the evaporator. The evaporator is the only machine that does not require power, and what it does is it takes water and it evaporates it into mineral salt. And mineral salt is actually quite useful, and so it's something that you should definitely consider doing early on if you have that ability within your mod pack or your set of mods, and just give it a go. It's a pretty great system, and the mineral salt is very useful. So here we have an atomizer and a liquefier. So both of these are essentially one is the opposite of the other. So I'm going to pull these up real quick in here for you to get an overview. It's really simple. It converts fluids into their elements or compounds. So water, for example, would turn into H2O, and that's probably the best example I can give you. And it's basically the opposite with the liquefier, where it will take, let me pull it up here real quick, where it will convert your elements into their fluid equivalent. So like a good example is turning gold into molten gold, for example. So those are pretty much the machines. With these machines, you can create any element, any compound using the materials from the world, which is pretty amazing. And I'm going to show you real quick all of the all the elements on the periodic table here. So it's actually all organized. This is actually how the periodic table looks. And the mod does come with the periodic table here, but I don't know if it's available outside of creative. But basically, it's the normal periodic table, and all the chemicals are there. All the elements are there, and it's pretty much how it goes. So next, I'm going to go through the process of explaining some of these items. There isn't very many, but it is good to know what they do. These are all lights. Some of these are made with Xeon, and that's the reason why all these colors are different, because it essentially mimics how it would react in real life. So if you have a phosphorescent light bulb, for example, the chemical inside is what will reflectively be the color of the light that's created. So that's pretty much what these are. They're just lights. Really not much to it. This is fertilizer. Fertilizer works the exact same as bone meal if you've ever used bone meal. This is watered sand. Watered sand is pretty cool. It actually lets you grow sugarcane without water nearby. So that's actually pretty useful. Here we have milk and condensed milk. This is condensed milk here. Or sorry, this is mineral salt, my bad. I didn't actually put the condensed milk in here. This is condensed milk here. So this is mineral salt. I already explained what this does. It's actually quite useful, and it's something that you should definitely consider. And here we have milk and condensed milk. This milk is made with like gold and it's made with emeralds and diamonds, so it's not the most feasible milk in the world. But it's a pretty cool. It's like a joke item more or less. So I don't know if there's any use to it, but it does exist. And these here is probably the coolest item. It's called a slot filler, and it's actually used in tandem with applied energistics. So if you've ever used applied energistics, it's a pretty great mod. And what it does is this allows you to automate the machines with Alchemistry. So Al thought about automation when it comes to other mods like applied energistics, and essentially these the book explains everything about using them. So there's no real point in going into detail, but these are used to fill slots so that when so that it doesn't take too many input items and it doesn't mess it up. So other than this, these are all the ingots that you can get. There is quite a lot of them. So I'm not going to go into detail about what these are, but they're the pretty standard ingots. There's copper, gold, lead. There's all kinds of stuff, uranium, all the basic things and things that aren't basic. But I'm not going to go into too much detail. Otherwise, I could be here all day. And here we have the compound elements. So these are compound elements. These include things like water, potassium chloride, iron oxide, even cocaine, like all kinds of stuff. It is pretty wild. Some of these actually have effects that you can drink and consume, and it's actually a really great mod. So a lot of these things can be done. And other than that, there's really only one more thing that I should be explaining, and that's the fusion and fission multi-blocks. Now, these blocks are pretty huge, which is why I didn't build them. They actually require a little over 100 blocks to make. And the book includes what all the recipes are, and if you have JEI, that will also tell you, which is why I'm not going through what the recipes are for these things, because at the end of the day, you should be able to look it up in the book, and that should really be the way to do it. So what this does is the fission, what it does is it takes elements and it breaks them apart, and then it creates new elements from those elements. And the only one that can't be split, obviously, is hydrogen because it has an atomic number of 1. And so you can't split a number 1. You can only split a 2 and above. So these are the options when it comes to fission. Fission is pretty cool. And there is also fusion. Fusion is the opposite of fission. The great thing about this mod is that everything you do one way, you can actually do the other way. And, oh, sorry, I went to the same one here. Whoops. And fusion actually lets you fuse them together, and it will add the total of your atomic number to the other number in order to create higher elements. So obviously the one element that you can't create, once again, is hydrogen because it has atomic number 1. So you can't create a 1 out of 2 numbers. That doesn't work. So other than that, really there isn't much more. There isn't anything else to this mod, I don't think. Oh, sorry, my bad. There's one more utility item, which is the obsidian breaker. And the obsidian breaker allows you to break obsidian blocks instantly without without having to go through a timer, but it's instantly consumed, so just using it consumes it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This mod is pretty huge. It's pretty good. It's got a lot of material, so if you're a mod pack maker, it is great because you could use this to do a lot of different things and gate these things properly and like actually turn this into like an entire feature for a mod almost, for a pack almost. It's pretty well done, and Al does a really good job of really explaining this thing in the book, and he does a good job of having everything organized and sorted, and the way that things are put together, and it's a really good mod. So that's essentially my mod spotlight for this mod. There isn't anything else that needs to be explained. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to join Al's Discord and ask him. He is a pretty great guy, and there are a lot of people there other than him who are very helpful, and they will be able to answer your questions. So if you like this mod spotlight and any other spotlight that I do, you're more than welcome to follow and subscribe below. You can also follow my Twitch, and I also am a mod maker, so look at my mods. But this is about Al's mod today, and hopefully I was able to at least explain the basics for you so that you have a basic understanding if you don't have the book. But I would recommend getting Patchouli if you don't have the book and making sure that you go through everything that it says. Perfect, guys. Have a good day.